Hello and welcome to this Country Financial IHSA Vintage Volleyball broadcast. My name is Kurt Gibson and I work on the administrative staff at the Illinois High School Association. In this broadcast, we're going to feature the heart-stopping 2008 championship game in Class 1A between Lanark Eastland and Ashland AC-Central. This was truly a classic back and forth match between two evenly matched, well-coached teams, and it came down really to the very, very end. Joining me today to share their reflections on this contest are three members of the Cougars championship squad. First, I'd like to introduce their then coach, Christy Pierce. Christy, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us, Kurt.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. I'd also like to introduce the team captain and libero from that year's squad, Damaris Linker. Welcome, Damaris. Hello.
Hello, Kurt. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, our pleasure. And finally, I'd like to introduce Carissa Pierce, who not only coaches daughter, but also the captain of the Cougars championship team in 2009. So, Carissa, welcome to our broadcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this was a really, as I said, heart-stopping, back and forth kind of match. But before we get into the match, Coach, I'm going to begin by asking you, what was sort of the prospects for the team at the start of the year? Did you have a feeling that this could be a championship kind of club?
Well, I always have a problem. I always have that feeling. So we had quite a mix of variety of age levels on this team. We had some very young girls, and we had Damaris and some of her classmates to help kind of cement it, and then Carissa and her classmates kind of in between. So we really had three age groups contributing to this championship team. So early on in the year, I realized we had some parts, and if we could piece them all together, that we had a very good chance at being very successful. But how that plays out as the year goes on is always a challenge, and yet you don't know until you get at least to the middle of the season how they're going to develop.
Carissa or Damaris, how about from the players' perspective? Did you guys, think you had the kind of stuff that could make it to Redbird?
Carissa, you want to start?
Yeah. I think it felt like really organic. It's always been a dream. I think when you're a coach's kid for so long, both Damaris and I, you go to Redbird when your parents are coaching or not really we're just in Redbird watching, and it's always a dream. So you sit there and you're like, you know what, when I'm older, that's going to be me, I promise. And when we got to that year with that type of senior leadership, and I think that's the most important thing to comment on the 2008 year is the leadership. Not even one match did I feel nervous at all, just because we were just like smooth sailing, and we had Damaris like, calm down, it's okay, we've got this. So I think that's what really cemented it for me anyway.
Well, thanks, Rissa. But I would definitely say, echo that as well. I mean, that's a big thing I was going to talk about just in general, kind of honoring this year, is that Carissa and I, and both of our sisters have basically grew up in the gym, watching volleyball, learning the game, learning how it works. We watched the 2003 team go to state for the first time in school history. And once we saw that team, we knew it was possible for us. And we were still kids at that time. But, for those next, 4 or 5 years, we worked, we put in the work in the off season. We, did a lot of team bonding, and we knew that year that it was going to happen, and we had full belief from the beginning. And I think that is one of the many pieces of what makes teams great, is that they have full belief and they're all bought into that vision.
Oh, certainly. Yeah. Well, let's talk about this game. I have to believe you guys could recognize this was going to be a tough opponent in AC-Central. So a little bit, what do you recall what the game plan was, or what you really were going to try to focus on to hopefully, get that first championship?
Coach, you want to go?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Sure, I can go. I don't care.
I don't want to steal you guys' thunder. You're doing a great job. Well, first of all, they had a very strong outside hitter, which ironically would become one of Damaris's teammates in college. We knew we had to keep her a step or two off. And so the game plan basically was, besides what we wanted to do on our side, is to try to serve her tough, serve her deep, try to keep her contained if we could. She was a great player. And honestly, going in, I really felt like we may have been the underdog team just based on the talent of that young lady alone, not to mention the rest of her teammates. So we really tried to serve her deep and tried to keep her from attacking at full speed.
Was this the first time? I know by this point, volleyball and other grown where people would, during the season, go to shootouts or invitationals and maybe see a broader range of teams than just those in your area. Had this been, I don't think you had played AC Central during the year, had you? So this was a first time kind of match up with them?
Correct. That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. How about you girls? What do you recall about the game plan and what you were trying to focus on as players?
Yeah, I kind of remember Coach talking about keeping her off balance and making sure that she's out of the equation. But I also think that we were evenly matched. And looking back at it now, we look like two very similar teams. It's like looking in a mirror almost. But I think what put us a little higher is, I think, our defensive strengths kind of shown through that game. And I think the defensive talent that we had that year definitely put them on the ropes, I think.
Yes. And I would just like to add, I think on the offensive side, we definitely wanted to kind of spread out our offense and we wanted to evenly distribute. So we had really good outside hitters. We had great middles. So we wanted, and our setter, Hope, could attack the ball pretty well. So we wanted to make sure that we gave everybody the ball and kind of switched it up. So, they weren't expecting where the ball would go every time. So we wanted to keep them on their toes in that aspect as well.
Now, was it common for your team to get off to good starts? Because I know in this match, in games 1 and 2, you didn't get off to good starts. You got behind 4-0 in the first game and I think 7-0 in the second game. And was that common, or were you guys usually off to faster starts?
Well, Kurt, in looking back at the scores, you remember what happened throughout the whole postseason. I can tell you about every team I've ever coached in my 34 years. But we barely got out of regionals. We had a tussle in the regional. We dropped the first set like 29-27, and then had to come back and win the next two. And then we had a tight one in the sectional as well. So this team was just about perseverance. I mean, they never felt they were out of it. They had a calming presence. They were able to bail their coach out in the sectional. They were able to bail each other out at different matches throughout the season. And I think just like Carissa said, the leadership was good and calming, and they just never really ever felt like they were out of a match. So we had a lot of ups and downs, but clearly we knew we had another gear, and they always got in that gear at some point.
Yeah. How about in game 3, though? I'm going to ask this for Damaris, for you. In game 3, though, you got behind games 1 and 2. One game you got over the hump on, the other one you didn't. So we have the final game. And that game you got off to a pretty good start. And then the games just sort of ebbed and flowed. Did you guys consciously as a team, as the senior leader, did you sort of say, hey, let's go here when you took the floor for that third game?
Oh, absolutely. No doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind we'd be standing on the first place podium at the end of that set. What was also great, Coach, and I think Carissa mentioned this too, we had three classes who were contributors to this 2008 team. Everybody had a role. Everybody knew their role, played their role, when it came to that time. And I think everybody was on the same page for that third set and did what they needed to do to get us the win.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's a heart-stopping finish, and folks are really going to enjoy this. But before we go, I do want to ask everybody, and I'll start with Carissa. But Carissa, talk for just a minute. Not only are you Coach's daughter, but you've gone on to have a successful career. And while you could talk about what it was like to play for your mom, I'd be more interested in, and I'd be interested to hear this from Damaris as well. to just talk about your experience as a high school athlete, what that meant for you and how that's helped you here some 10, 12 years later as you are pursuing a doctorate degree right now.
Yeah, I think being a coach's daughter, it's a little more emotional, especially that like first place finish, I think, because you're like both accomplishing like goals and it's like kind of a bonding moment, which brings me to team. Team has always been super important in healthcare when I'm going in and any other aspect of life you're going. Team is huge. And bringing that aspect that you learn in high school sports, being able to coexist with classes that are different from your own and into life, it's really important. And I think bringing that aspect of team and all of that into your life is super important, and perseverance and all of that goes together to accomplishing like goals as that team. So I think that's kind of the thing that I brought with me, is that everyone has a story, bringing it together, finding a like goal, and then just pushing through to make sure that you accomplish that goal.
Yes.
Damaris, how about you?
Of that. So Coach Pierce had built an incredible program at Eastland, and we were very fortunate for the school district that we got to play for and the community that supported our high school. And I think that was really, really awesome as a high school student athlete, is to just, you really start to learn at that time in your life that you are doing things, especially in sports. We were playing for more than just ourselves. We were playing for more than just our coaches. We were playing for our school district, all the people in the community who have supported, us and then our school throughout the years. So I think that's really, really cool, is like Carissa said, whenever you're a part of a team or whenever you are in the workplace and you're working towards a common goal, one thing to really understand is that you are oftentimes always working for something bigger than yourself. You're working with other people who have similar goals. And so that was really, really cool. We had an incredible community behind us that supported us throughout the whole way, who has supported Eastland Volleyball forever and Eastland, the school district. So that was really cool. And then, we were held to very high standards and expectations in our program. And that has for sure carried through my college career. And now I'm coaching now. And so I get to kind of teach those lessons to the young women I'm around every day, that those summer workouts that we did, multiple times a day, getting to all the camps. We all played club volleyball in the off season. So that discipline and learning how much hard work it really took to get to the highest level is, many of the things that I will take with me, along with all the leadership lessons and, being able to get so many different people to work together and hit that goal.
Those are really good perspectives, and it's clear, Coach, that you've had a tremendous impact on the lives of not only these two young ladies, but so many others. I guess, what would you offer as, sort of what you always wanted to focus on as a coach and hoped your players took away from their interaction with you, their time spent with you?
Well, I think, as you listen to these two young ladies speak, and a lot of their teammates would speak the same, they're just incredible people. Like, it's not just about what I did or what they did collectively. It's about their parents and the community and the school system, their teachers. I mean, such a well-rounded group of individuals, and all the life lessons that I know I tried to teach, but yet they got from their parents and the community members, the people they meet on the street that maybe they didn't know so well, but always lent support and encouragement to them. I think that that's really the coolest part of coaching, to be honest. This whole thing is what it's all about, what's happening today, and hearing their stories and where they're at in life. That's all I could ever ask for.
Yeah, that's good. That's very good. Well, I want to take a quick moment here as we wrap things up to thank you, Coach, and Carissa and Damaris, for your time today and sharing your reflections on the 2008 Class 1A championship game between Eastland and AC-Central. It was truly a vintage volleyball classic, and it's going to be a match I know our fans are going to love to watch here. So let's take us out to Redbird Arena on the campus of Illinois State University for this clash of two great programs.